Welcome to another episode of the Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. I'm Tom Shellcross. With me, as always, is Mark Ainley. Mark, we are here in the underground. This episode was recorded at Alderman Villegas' office. We felt a little awkward doing the intro there because there's a ton of people working. It felt weird to shout. And we also wrapped up at like 5 p.m. and they were all trying to get out of there. Like, we should probably get out of here too.
Well, I felt nervous asking him to shout that on top of everything.
Yeah,
too,
he had like people waiting for him as he graciously gave us 45 minutes of his time with like a million things going on. And like, we're like, we'll come back to the underground and do this.
So maybe that's the goal for 2026. We got to get an alderman to do the intro. So actually, it's probably more of us too afraid to ask. So
he probably would have done it. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he would have. He's a competitive guy. So I think he would have done it.
Yeah, so talking about this episode, just I'm a big fan. I've got to know him. I don't have some very in-depth relationship, but for my minimal interactions with him, just very pragmatic, very just understands both sides of the equation, and then also doesn't try to please everybody. Like this is what I feel is the best decision. I'm going to move forward, and you're never going to please everyone. We talk about the development going on in Chicago Avenue, and you look at the Facebook comments, half the people there are complaining that we're letting affordable housing in. This is terrible for the neighborhood. And half people are saying there's not enough affordable housing. It's still too expensive. Like, you're never going to please everyone, so you just do the best you can and put your feet forward. And I don't know, just I really like how he goes about his way there.
Yeah, a job of a politician is make everyone happy even when they're not happy. So
before we jump in, man, we're looking at the zoning map. And for our listeners, you can go on there and see, for the interactive zoning map, just Google Chicago zoning, get to the interactive map. It'll show you, am I RS3? Am I RT4? Am I in the ADU? They now added the water, I don't know if you call them the ledgers, whatever it was from 1951, where they went around and canvassed everywhere and then took inventory on how many fixtures, how many units. And I don't know what purpose this serves, except that it's really cool to go look up. So you can go look up your address. It'll be like an 80-page booklet. It won't be your physical, just your one address. It'll be like a whole neighborhood, and you got to scroll through it, find your property. And it'll say, 3 levels. Second bedroom has, 2 shower or whatever. And again, I don't really know what the purpose it is, but it's really cool to go see. It's all handwritten from 1951.
Well, up until recently, nothing was really metered. So, like I imagine that's what it has to be able to do that flat rate billing that they did for so many years, which they still do on some properties. Like that was probably
probably using that.
That was their spreadsheet in 51.
So like it might come in handy, I guess, if you're fighting zoning and being like, hey, this is a legal 3. They might have in there like, yep, there's a basement unit. It was finished. It does have these fixtures. Like you can say, hey, this was done in pre-1951. I didn't add this to the basement. So maybe it serves that purpose. Of all the things the city has to work on, like it was very odd to see that this project.
Yeah, they went to microfiche and uploaded everything to the internet. It's
cool.
Crazy.
It's a cool 15-minute scroll though.
Yeah, it is cool. See how it's written.
All right, let's jump in here. What do we have for the housing private tip of the week?
All right, so this is a pretty quick and easy one. It's lease renewal season. Remember, in Cook County and in Chicago, if you have a tenant that's been in your place for more than 3 years, and it could be 3 years and a day, you have to give them 120-day notice to not only increase their rent, but also give them a renewal to if you want them to leave, notice to vacate. And if they've been there less than 3 years, then you still have to give them 60-day notice. So there's technically in Chicago or Cook County, there's no such thing as a month-to-month lease. It's because you're always going to be at least 60-day notice that you have to be given. So make sure you follow those rules, because if you don't, I believe the consequence follows that if you don't give 120 notice, then they automatically get an additional 120-day notice from the end of their lease that they can continue paying the same amount of rent, and they don't have to vacate if it's a vacate reason.
Yep. And then I'm not an attorney, but also isn't this, let's say you roll into like the 5th of the month, it goes from like the 30th of the month. Like it's more than 120 days.
Super important to point that out. So if you're giving just your 60-day notice on February 1st, February 1st, then your 60-day notice would end March 31st. But if you give it February 4th, then technically you go all the way till April 30th at that point. So you have to give
you round to the end of the month.
Yes, it's rounded to the end of the month. So keep that in mind, because that could screw you up too, thinking like, I'll give 60-day notice and give them 2 extra days. That doesn't. You give them actually 28 extra days at that point.
Yep. Cool. All right, let's jump in. Our guest today, so gracious with this time. Really, really fun episode here. We're going to cut over to us live at his office. So Lance, congratulations. I think that was our first live setup in an alderman's office, which was pretty cool. We're going to jump to it. Alderman Villegas, welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming out to the far northwest side of the city here.
Well, this is, we were joking about this. Both of us used to go to this Toys R Us Brickyard. This is when you had a good report card. This was where you went, or sometimes to the Sport Mart, or what is it? MC Sport. I forgot which sporting store it was, but that's where we got your
Yeah, MC Sports. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we got a lot of questions to ask. We kind of prefaced them and we covered them. Before getting that though, I want to talk about did a young Gil Villegas play shortstop or quarterback? Because I saw the Facebook post of you throwing a bullet, an absolute strike from about 20 yards away, hitting your target. For those who haven't seen it, we can post it in the show notes. But this thing was a freaking strike.
So I didn't play second base. I was a catcher.
All right, that
So,
makes sense.
yeah.
That's even,
I was a catcher. So
that was
it
a down two call, and
yes,
that thing was
100%. And I made it on the first try, and my comms guy was busy messing with his iPhone and missed it, and I had to do it again. And I was like, "Oh, come on, man! I thought we were one and done here." But it was great effort. It was great. What a great season for the Bears.
Oh yeah.
And so, before the game, we wanted to have kind of like a little tailgate for those folks that couldn't afford to go to the game.
Majority of us.
And we had about 100 people come out. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a cookout, and it was a good time.
Yeah, both playoff games, like just leading up to it, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, everyone was just so nice to each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was just like it
Exactly.
felt like almost that post 9/11 feel where everyone's
Yeah.
in this thing together.
Exactly. Yep.
So, all right. So I guess let's start with I got to know you just a little bit from a building I had in your ward. For context for our listeners, I had a building that was requesting an upzone, and I was really impressed with how you handled it. One, obviously anytime we get an upzone, developers are happy. But it went about, you were very looking at both sides of this for us. And to cut to the chase, we were able to add a unit, and it had to be a certain level of affordability, and it had to go to a veteran first, right? So instead of it just being an empty basement space, I was able to add my unit. We had a veteran, we worked with a third party that your office hooked us up with, got into the unit, and at a very affordable level compared to if this didn't exist, he'd to go on market and pay another $500, $600.
Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of that. And I guess my question to you is like, why? Why want to go into other wards? It's like everyone, it's binary, yes or no.
No, well, I think that my approach is having been a former landlord myself. And then getting quickly out of that business because it wasn't for me. I had a
Smart man.
I had a 4-unit in Logan Square, and then I had a 2-unit with a basement where I resided in. And I remember that 4-unit was an investment property, and I remember having to set the rates at a level that was attractable to get good people, but then also I had utilities to pay, and so then property taxes, and then other expenses. And so I look at development and ownership, building ownership from that perspective, from the lens, because I've actually lived it, right? And the one thing that people forget is that you need revenue in order to fund government, and so property taxes is one of the main sources that funds government. And so I'm okay with developers or anyone that wants to try to upzone, as long as we can have a dialogue as to what it is we're trying to do, and we talk to the community to make sure that they're okay with it and understand what's coming. And I allow for that because there's only so much revenue that you can get out of a building. And so we want to make sure that you're able to make a profit, break even, make sure that we're not putting this burden of paying for government on every building owner or property owner in the city. We want to make sure that at a minimum that they're realizing some type of gain in their investment.
Mm.
Yeah.
And is this something that changes? Because your ward, it stretches far east to west. Do you see your constituents on probably both sides of the table here, all from Belmont Cragen to West Town? Are they okay with this, right? Or is there a lot of not in my backyard?
Well, there's a lot of not in my backyard, and I have these meetings, and understanding that I'm not going to be able to satisfy everybody. Everyone has their opinion, but what I want to do is make sure that we have all the information, so that way everyone can make an informed decision. What happens a lot of time with development, you see people that are maybe if they're opposed to it, they'll start spreading out negative things on social media. There's an affordable component to the building. Oh, it's all CHA and Section 8 and all these things are coming. And I'm like, well, there's a 20% affordable requirement under our city ordinance, and in some instances it's 60, 70% AMI. And then when you break it down and say, well, look, the 60% AMI is a family of 4 making $71,000.
Yeah,
it's not like So I'm not sure where these narratives are, but they do it just to scare people off. And so I have my meetings, whether I'm in the east or west of the ward. And at the end of the day, I make a decision. And it's funny because this last meeting, people were like, well, we want to vote on this project. And I said, well, we're not going to do that because if you're a good organizer, then you're going to go organize and stack the deck with people that are opposed to it or supportive of it. I go, we already had an election. It's when I was elected. And then what happens is I make the decision. And then if people like the decision that I make, then they'll reward me with another 4-year term. If they don't, then they'll vote me out. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, someone has to make a decision. I think people would rather see the alderman, the local representative that they can see and talk to versus a bureaucrat that's downtown that they don't know who is actually making a decision. So that's the way that I select developments and make decisions, not on fear, just on facts.
Yep, that's awesome. And that's kind of from the constituent side. What message would you have then for a developer who's coming into your ward? Like if they're coming with a potential project, what would you like to see from them, or how can they prepare to put themselves in the best light?
Well, the one thing I always tell developers is just be prepared to negotiate, because I understand that they want to maximize the potential of and take advantage of every square inch of their property, which they should. Ask for the moon. But understand that we're going to have to land somewhere in the stars with the community, because we got to get community feedback. And developers, in some instances, will build a building and then offload it in a few years. That's okay. I have no problem with that. But those constituents are there. So I want to make sure that they're taken into consideration with the developments. But at the end of the day, something needs to be built. The city is facing 119,000 units that we need to build. And there's been a lot of red tape in the city of Chicago. And this administration has talked about cutting the red tape, but it hasn't cut the red tape, unfortunately. I've talked to developers, especially in the affordable housing space, and they're just frustrated with all the bureaucracy that's there. So I think that there is an opportunity to cut red tape, but unfortunately, this administration is just really looking at the low-hanging fruit and not really getting into the meats and potatoes of actually how to cut the red tape. And so that's something that I'm trying to work on, is figuring out from the legislative standpoint what we can do, talking to folks that are in the development space, figuring out, letting the ideas that the administration has put out there, letting them figure it out, and then coming back to us saying, no, if they change this, then this can work. So we're doing that R&D right now with that red tape initiative that the mayor's put out there. So I would tell developers that if they want to invest in the 36th ward, please come. We do have parcels that are available, not many, but they're there. Come with their ideas, but just be prepared to have a discussion around getting some feedback. But at the end of the day, they should know that we want to get something built there.
Yep. You talked about the red tape. One of the lines I've stolen from you is something about, like, I don't know where my permit is, but I can track my cheeseburger on DoorDash.
Yes.
When you put it that way, it's like, oh yeah, this is ridiculous.
So right now I chair the Economic Capital and Technology Committee for the city. I've been the chairman for 6 years, and I've been one of the more active legislators in the City Council. And so I'm a huge proponent of tech, because when you take a look at what is it that city does, we deliver services. We deliver services. That's it. We don't provide any or manufacture any widgets. We provide a service, and we have a monopoly. If you want to build something in the city, you got to get permit through us. So the question is, how do we do it in a way that allows for predictability from the standpoint of the developer to understand, like, when they're going to able to get this project done and be able to phase in their workforce throughout the course of these projects, and then also be able to talk to the lenders to say, no, we're going to be starting in Q1 of 2026 because this is the process that's in place right now. So I've been talking with the technology standpoint around figuring out and getting the city of Chicago to issue an RFI, request for information. We actually were able to do that in the management ordinance that just passed in 2026, where the chief financial officer, the budget director, and the city's comptroller will take a look at the city government, and it's been broken down into silos because of the Ernst & Young report that was completed, that was trying to find efficiencies. And so it's broken down to about 11 silos. And so what we want to do is have the technology firms have the ability to tell us how we could do the service better and allow them to be innovative. Instead of us going, we have a problem, we want you to solve the problem this way. I want the question to be, we have a problem, how would you solve it? And allow innovation to come into play and stop the modernizing of the tech. What happens is we get this tech off the shelf and they start customizing it. But once you start customizing it, you're losing the efficiency. So we need to make sure that if we have to change, government have to change the process in order to meet the efficiency. That's what we need to do because we want to maximize that ability. And so when I talk about the example of like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub, it's like in today's day and age, you can order a cheeseburger from your favorite establishment. NADC on Grand Avenue has a good one, and so is Levitt Tavern as well. You can order your cheeseburger and you can follow it on your phone. You can talk to the delivery driver, and they'll take a photo of the cheeseburger at your door, and you know it's been delivered. But when you get a permit, it goes into the bureaucracy black hole, and you don't know where it's at in the process. And I'm saying, no, let's allow a process so that way we're holding each other accountable. If the developer hasn't filled out paperwork, we have AI that can review the application and say, hey, developer, you're missing some of this paperwork here. You need to fill this out before you can move to the next step. And then it'll also be able to appoint someone that's specifically in charge of your project. That way you can communicate with them in real time. Hey, John, I see my permits in your desk. Do you need anything from me? When do you think I can get it done? And that way, again, it allows for transparency, but more importantly, just predictability around when projects are going to actually get done. Helps us. The sooner we get a project shovels in the ground, we begin to collect that property tax revenue.
Yeah, it helps everybody.
Helps everybody.
Right.
I was going to ask, is there a target of you guys are trying to?
Yeah. So in our management ordinance, so we passed the budget December 29th, and we also passed a management ordinance, which is an ordinance that directs city governments to do certain things. In this one part of the management ordinance, I was able to put in there that the city comptroller, CFO, and the budget director will issue an RFI in before Q2, before the second quarter. So they should be working on that now to figure out when they're going to issue that RFI. They'll get responses back from the tech firms, and then depending on what responses are there, a request for proposal then can be initiated. Or if it's a sole source or it's a unique opportunity to do something, then we can begin to engage and try to figure out. I'm a huge proponent of pilot projects. Let's pilot something to see if it works. If it works, we scale. If it doesn't, then we shelve it. And when you take a look at what the cost of pilot projects, because a IT company is wanting to get their product utilized by the third largest city, they're more flexible about pricing, and so they're willing to take that risk as well. Because if it does work, then they're able to put that on their resume as they're going to other cities, going, "Hey, we're doing work in Chicago." And so again, it's just about getting from behind the desk and getting out there and talk about what the city does, but taking a look at utilizing technology to deliver the service.
Yep. You were a very big part of the budget, right? Like, so before we get into some of the specifics, I just want to know, like, on a personal level, what was your month of December like?
Yeah.
Like, is this like, are these like 16-hour days? Like, is this like just all encompassing? Like, hey, head down, and this is all I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, the city council did.
You got a war to run.
Oh yeah. So and the city council did something that was very historic. I mean, in the city's history, the city council has never passed the budget over the objection of the mayor. And I was happy and proud that we did that, because what we're seeing here in city government, Chicago government specifically, is that the way our structure is, it's not set up for a good check and balance on the executive branch. And I say that by the fact that when you have in Congress, you have the Senate and you have the Senate and the House that are co-equal branches of government, and they have bills and budgets that start in their chambers, and then the president signs them. In our state capital in Springfield, again, you have the House and you have the Senate. The governor proposes something, the Senate president and the Speaker of the House negotiate. In city council, it's one chamber, right? The council, one's the legislative branch, rather, the council, and then the executive branch. Well, historically, the executive branch has said, we're in charge of the budget, and then they give us this budget, and then they've worked on it for 5 months. They gave it to us, and they expect us to analyze it in 2 weeks. And when I first got my budget in 2015, I was like, what am I checking for? Like, the numbers add up? How did we get here? What type of, did we do zero-based budgeting here? Like, how did we get to this number? And they couldn't explain it. Well, this is always how it's been done. So
Always a great answer.
it's always a great answer, right? and so I've been a big proponent of having the city get a city charter to really, go ahead and codify what we did, this historic movement, to have like a president or the speaker of the council, similar to like what New York, LA, Phoenix, Philadelphia, all these large cities have that structure, and it's codified through a city charter. And so I'm glad that we did that. My December was, thank God I had staff. We were on constant Zooms and constant meetings talking about how we were going to try to figure this out, because there were like 3 things that we were very concerned with. And we were concerned with them because the rating agencies had said, if you don't make your advanced pension payment, if you take a loan on paying the firefighters back pay, and then you take this initiative of wanting to implement a head tax on corporations that have 100 employees or more, they were all signaling like, this is going to not be good for the city. And so a bunch of us got together and said, look, we have to be, for lack of a better word, the adults in the room here and try to figure out if there's an alternative. And so we started working with civic organizations, business groups to figure out like what type of assistance can we get from them, understanding that we don't have the bandwidth. I don't have financial analysts that are working here in the ward office because I don't need those services. When my constituents come in, they're not going to ask like about financial questions. They're asking about, hey, when is the street getting repaid, the garbage being picked up? So we don't have that staff on hand. So we were able to borrow some of that staff and have that expertise lent to us. And I want to keep in mind that the budget, what we messed with, what counts about 1.4% of the budget. So the mayor's budget that he introduced, we allowed a lot of it to move forward because we didn't have the bandwidth, nor did we have the runway in order to make some changes. Now, I did get the budget director to put on record that the portion that we dealt with, the 1.4%, we were able to identify a $15 million surplus based on her projections. Can you imagine if we had a whole year to look at this and analyze the budget and had all the necessary staff to make sure that we were doing our best to be as transparent and accountable? We could probably saved millions of dollars more. And so now that we kind of went through this process in December, we're looking at it now in 2027 because now the budget's passed, but we got to make sure that the administration is not slow rolling us by implementing some of the things that we required them to do, and making sure that they're not playing games and putting the 1.4% of revenue that we've identified, and then saying that there's a shortage there and we need to do all these mass layoffs that the mayor's talking about, which is crazy because at the end of the day, the city council passed the budget with 30 votes. We would have had 31. We had 30 votes. And had the mayor vetoed it, he chose not to veto it because it would have been overwritten. I was in charge of counting whipping votes, and I can tell you that we were well above 34. We would have been well above 34. The mayor chose not to veto it, nor did he decide not to sign it. He just took no action and allowed the ordinance to come into law. So, in essence, you're saying you support that budget. Now, as the executive, it's your job to implement the budget that was passed with the dollar amounts and that were appropriated. And so that's where we're at right now. Is again just playing, making sure that we're playing, we're checking one another to make sure that they're actually doing their work and we're going to do our work. We had tons of calls in December, and I remember one call lasting to about 12:30 at night, and I actually fell asleep. And thank God the missus was there. She's like
nudging you.
She nudged. I fell asleep for like 30 minutes, and she nudged me. She's like, "Gil, they're calling you," and I was like, "What are we talking about?" We had been on a call for 4 hours from about 8:30 to 12:30, But it was very important. It was very important that that the body took this step. And listen, anytime that the city council pushes back, the citizens of Chicago win, because we saw that we budgeted the advance pension payment, and we rolled back and removed the head tax. We were unable to get the find a revenue for the backfired pay, so we had to borrow for that, which was frustrating because it was in the budget initially last year, and again the mayor's team is playing games with that, and so that's why it's going to be incumbent upon us to continue to monitor this administration, because they haven't been very good actors, and they haven't been true to their word on certain things. So it's going to be incumbent upon us to make sure that we're following up with the things that they're required to do by law.
Yep. If you don't mind going behind the curtain a little bit, so you get the budget, you say this is not good, right? Two questions. One, do you just start texting and calling other aldermen, hey, who's in my corner here? Because right, you're not going to go on this crusade as a one-man show. You need to have the support. So are you guys just all in constant contact with each other? And then second part to that is, at what point did you realize, oh man, city council is going to deny? When did it really start to feel real? Hey, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
As opposed to all right, we don't like this, we got to fight. And to crap, this is going to be monumental.
Yeah.
When did that sink in?
Well, so to answer your first question, so yes, as soon as the budget was introduced, a lot of us did not know what was going to be in the budget. Now, mind you, the mayor had said, I'm not going to raise property taxes, nor am I going to make cuts. Now, you guys are developers, you guys are in the business. You know that if you can't increase revenue, then you need to make right size your workforce. Or if you're going to not deal with the workforce, then you have to increase revenue. You can't do both. And so that's
math is math. It doesn't bend.
Math is math. And so when we kind of found out what the administration was thinking about, that's when again we kind of started talking to one another, and then maybe about a couple of weeks after the mayor's introduction, more intense conversations, and then probably a month after that is when we started really organizing and thinking, you know what, I think we're gonna have to do something, but the question is, we can't do it alone. Because we're going to need some assistance. And then that's when we were able to reach out and kind of figure out who else doesn't support this budget, and then get some requirements, not even requirements, but some assistance from them, and recommendations from them as to what are other solutions or ideas that we can put forward to solve the math problem. And so that's how it worked. And then as we began to continue to work in this process, it was important to have key leaders that have been on the council for quite some time that had credibility. And so we were very fortunate to have Chairwoman Dow and Chairwoman Harris that have been on the city council for almost 20 years, and then other members as well that knew their way around city government. And we just started talking and figuring out what's an alternative that can be made. So that's once we started those pieces starting to get together, and then the next thing you know, we were at 20 city council members, and then we started educating our other members. And next thing you know, we're at 26, and then the next thing you know, we were at 28. And when we were at 28, I'm like, wow, this is a pretty good, solid coalition. Understanding that we're not going to agree on anything, but what are the things that we all agree on? And we all agreed that we wanted to keep the city moving forward. We could not risk another downgrade under this administration. This administration has already seen 2 credit downgrades, so we could not see a third. And when you take a look at CPS, which has the lowest junk rating in the country, we didn't want to put ourselves in that position. So that's when we started seeking some assistance, and that's where we were able to put forward a budget. And as we began to really have that outside help, is when we realized, you know what, I think we have an opportunity here to pass something. And when we started talking to our members, they were excited about the fact that we were doing something, and that it was organized. As a result of that, like I said, it passed at 30. We would have had 31. However, the vote took place on a Saturday. we have one Jewish member who was recognizing the Shabbat, so she had to be off on Friday and Saturday, and so she was unable to come on Saturday, or else we would have had 31 votes.
And going into it, that you knew though, like, all right, man, we're going to be at 30. We're standing strong. Like, how much was still open ended? Coming up to vote time?
So we felt very confident that we were gonna be above 28. The question was, because we had the one member that was out observing her religion, would we get to 30? We would either be at 29 or 28, but without her, we were able to get to 30, because once the debate started happening and city council members were talking in favor of our alternative budget versus the mayor's, people started to see the light. And I think it's important that when you're asking a member to sign on to something, that you educate them and you listen to what some of the concerns and what it is that we're trying to solve for, and try to build as much consensus. We were able to do that.
I imagine whenever a group of people are doing this and trying to mount a plan or really make sure this makes sense, you start thinking about the negatives, or what if we aren't able to get enough people on our side? How's that going to look, or the blowback? Was there anything you guys were worried about if you guys couldn't get the consensus, or couldn't any type of blowback?
No, you started seeing, unfortunately, this budget for the first time, probably in a long time, became very political. You saw ads. Yeah, you saw ads around both sides. We even started getting targeted. The folks of the alternative side, budget side, we started getting targeted that that we were doing this and that we were Trumpers, and I'm just like, how the hell is local government Trumpers? Like, what are we talking about here? And that really started pushing people that were on the fence to our side, because they saw that it was either all or nothing. And in politics and in business, there has to be the opportunity to negotiate. And if you think about the budget that passed, and you guys are businessmen, if you got 98.6% of what you requested, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. And so that's how we felt that, we took a look at those issues, that the credit ratings and the issues that potentially could harm the city, and we said, we'll address that now in the short window that we have. And then 2026, we'll spend a lot more time trying to figure out how to solve for some of the other things. It creates some efficiencies, right-sizing of government, taking a look at TIF surpluses, taking a look at working down in Springfield for some revenue ideas that we need, and then lastly, looking locally for revenue. I think people, when you're trying to solve for a budget, Mayor likes to talk, it's a moral document. There is some truth to that, but it's also a math problem, and we got to figure out what are the things that we can solve for within our budgetary constraints. And unfortunately, this administration, instead of going down to Springfield to talk about some of the things we needed to solve our budget, he was down there advocating for the Bear Stadium, advocating for minimizing the amount of votes needed on the CPS board for a budget. Like, that's so inside baseball. And if you poll the voters and said, hey, do you want the mayor of the city of Chicago, or do you want any elected official going down to Springfield to advocate for a multi-billion-dollar entity, the Bears? And you're like, no, we want you advocating for the residents of Chicago to make sure that we can continue all the positive things that are occurring in the city.
The services, yeah.
The services, exactly. So that's the frustrating part, is that the priorities are not there yet. But the city council is really organizing ourselves. We're working on revenue ideas. We're working on going down to Springfield. We're working on trying to figure out how to right-size government. We're working with business entities to figure out revenue, working with the unions to figure out, how technology plays a role. So there's a lot of things that need to happen. There needs to be some very, very serious discussions. Unfortunately, the bills due in this administration and this council. In the 90s, the city council and the former mayors, they charged everything. Bills here. And so we got to figure out how to solve for the biggest liability we have is pensions. So it's unfair for us to shortchange those men and women that paid into a pension, that did their part, but the city didn't do their part. And so we're going to make sure that those men and women are whole. But we also have to make sure that moving forward, like what is it that we can do so that we're not putting ourselves in the same situation.
Yep. All good stuff. I want to pivot now and talk about the Northwest Housing Ordinance.
Yep.
So I know you originally were one of the aldermen who were into it. And then after consideration, getting some more information, you decided to take your section of the ward out of it.
Yep.
I'm going to make the assumption our listeners already know, because we have a lot of real estate listeners, know what the ordinance is. Talk to us about your mindset of why you went in and then also why you went out.
Right. So initially, when it was brought to me, small portion of the ward, and I had remembered telling the sponsor at the time that I'll agree to get in, but if I start hearing stories around this thing not working, I'm getting out. And sure enough, we were in. I heard from a real estate attorney that was trying to close a deal that the city housing, the Department of Housing was not prepared, did not have all the documentations needed. Freddie and Fannie Mac were concerned about first right of refusal. So I was like, wait a minute, I thought you guys like did all this stuff already, right? So I said, I'm going to pull out. I go, but let's have a working group of folks that from the real estate industry, from the community groups, from the financial institutions, from the title companies, from the attorneys to figure out like, what's a path here? Is there a path here to do something like this? But you can't just have one interest group pushing an agenda and not taking into account the other interest groups that are needed in order to make the transaction happen. And when we take a look at Freddie and Fannie Mac play an important role, because these are the institutions that are going to most likely lend to that type of client. And if they're at the table saying, hey, we have concerns about this, we're not going to lend, then you're already setting up those folks that are interested in purchasing the property in a bad predicament, but also you're putting the owner in a bad predicament, because now they're having to hold this property and they're not able to move on with their life. And this may be a teacher, and this was an example. There was a teacher who'd been a teacher for 35 years, had a 2-flat building, wanted to sell it. And they were in that zone, and they had to go through this whole process. And the attorney, fortunately for him, he had some relationships within the administration, was able to navigate it, but they almost lost the deal. And it was a slam dunk. It was a 3-story, 2-flat with a basement. It was a simple deal, simple transaction. Cost the owner more money because the attorney had to do more work, and then also
title fees too.
The title fees, and then the title companies didn't know how to title it because the Housing Department didn't have their act together, and so the attorney even had to help the Housing Department figure out like what type of document would be accepted. So some of these policies, as well intended, need to make sure that all the stakeholders are at the table. We can talk about some of the unintended consequences to make sure that something is possible. Just because it's possible somewhere in another city or another state doesn't mean it's possible here. And so that's why I pulled out, because I had said that I'll sign on to it, but as soon as there's a problem, I'm going to sign out, and then we need to get a working group together. And so I introduced an ordinance to talk about the TOPA component, which is a Tenant Owner Act, that would begin that process. We're waiting for the administration to convene a meeting with the working groups, and then also the Fannie Mac, Freddie and Fannie, as well as the title companies, as well as the developers, realtors, MBOA, all these entities to figure out, like, is there a path to do this? What we don't want to do is put people who have invested in their property, put them in a position where they may lose a sale. It's a delay in their life.
Yep. All right, let's talk about what's exciting in the ward here.
Yep.
So let's start with the most recent thing I saw was at 2600 block of Chicago there.
Oh, yeah.
What's, for our listeners who don't know, give us the rundown.
Yeah, so it's 2652 West Chicago. It was an Advanced Auto store that was there, auto parts store that was there, and decided to close, and so it was closed for a minute. The developer purchased it and had came to me and said, hey, you wanted to build a 5-story building, I said, well, no, let's build something, but let's go to the community first. So we were able to go to the community. I heard from everyone. We had 3 community meetings, and we ended up landing on a 40-unit 23 parking space, one storefront with 6 affordable units out of it. The rest are market rate, and right along the busiest bus line in the city, Chicago Avenue, maybe less than a mile away from the Metro. So it's a perfect transportation-oriented development, and along a business corridor that needs some more density in order to support the businesses that are there. We have some restaurants that are facing some challenges, and so all of a sudden you put anywhere between 40 to 80 people in a building that need to procure things, help some of the local businesses. So that's what we decided to do.
Yep. The developer comes, he wants everything. At what point, all right, first community meeting, is it like outrage? Like, just walk us through, like, what's.
Yeah. For those viewers and listeners that have not gone to a community meeting, you should go just to hear. Listen, my process is very inclusive. Anytime I have a zoning change, I like to include the community because I want to hear their feedback. A developer is in it for their self-interest. No problem. But we have people that have been in the community for a long time, and we want to make sure that they have at least a voice. And so, as their representative, I convened that meeting to make sure we have a discussion. In this instance here, there was buildings that were 4 stories tall. So when the developer came with a 5-story, I said, let's go ahead and display that and hear what the feedback is. If I don't get a lot of pushback on that, then we'll go with it. But if it's pushback, just be prepared to take a look at bringing it down to 4 stories so that there's a precedence already there at 4 stories. It's within the character of the block. So just be prepared for that. Make sure that your pro forma is penciling out at 4 stories. So we went to the meeting. We had a lot of pushback. They were saying 57 units was too much, not enough parking, just a whole host of things. So it's good to hear feedback. So I went after the meeting. We talked to the developer. Hey, you heard the feedback. What is it you think you can do within the space in order to accommodate some of the, a lot of what it is that you think you can solve for. But it's always interesting to hear from some folks that just don't want anything there. It's like there has to be something there. I mean, this is like prime real estate, number one transportation-oriented development corridor in the city. Like something needs to be built there. We just can't have a vacant lot. And I'm sure the developer doesn't want to have a vacant, purchase a property for $1.2 million and then just have it vacant there. And so we had the meeting. We had a second meeting, came back with a different development, heard some more concerns, and then we had our final meeting last week. I said, look, something's going to be built. We're going to give the 3 options. We're going to give the 47 units, we're going to give the 40 unit, and then we're going to give as of right, meaning no zoning change. The developer can build as of right, and this is what they could build. They wanted to, as of right, he could build 15 condo units with 15 parking spots. So then I asked the legal team for the developer if they could provide an analysis of what the property tax revenue would be generating off of each one. So that way I can inform the community that, look, the 15 unit generates about 75, 80,000 in property tax revenue. The 40 unit would do 125, the 47 about 135. And as the city needs new revenue and we need units, I wanted to make sure that we understood that. We did our meeting, a lot of opinions, but at the end of the day, I have to make a decision. And so I'm the elected representative. Some of the community members wanted to have a vote, and I explained to them, that's not how this works. We're gonna have a big discussion around it, and then at the end of the day, I'm gonna make a decision. I make decisions not off of fear, based off facts. And the fact is that we need units, we need revenue, and this is an opportunity to take out 2 birds with 1 stone.
How often do you have to really educate constituents around the math or the economics of it, and how good it could be for them? Because I imagine you have to deal with some just like opinions that are just like people are just not happy in general sometimes.
Yeah, we go there trying to educate everyone because we understand people have their lives and they're dealing with children, or they're dealing with school, they're dealing with work. And so we try to make it as easy as possible for them, providing as much information. And in some cases, we do hear some concerns that are legit, and then other concerns are just more of they just rather see nothing. But in a city where we're trying to grow our tax base, we're trying to promote young families to come to the city. We think we're in a great position from a technology standpoint. The Google coming downtown, Quantum campus coming to the southeast side. I mean, there's like a lot of pluses here. So we're set up for that. And so what I want to make sure is that any vacant lots that I have in my ward, if there's an opportunity to build something to attract those young families and young people that want to move to the city, I'm all for it. And so it's about also explaining to people that you may have been in a community for 30 years and you have this building or you have this house here, but some people unfortunately can't buy a building or a house right now, but want to live in this beautiful community that you live in. And here's a pathway for them to come in, which ultimately may lead to them buying your house at some point because they don't want to leave the community. And they're like, hey, I've been in this apartment for a couple of years. I've been able to save or been able to get a better job. There's a property here sale in a neighborhood for sale. I love this neighborhood. And then they're able to purchase that. So I try to talk about all the positives there, understanding that some people just have an opinion that I can't change their mind, and that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. We want to talk about the facts of the project and making sure that we're on the same page there.
What other exciting things are happening in the ward, whether it be new developments, programs that you guys are rolling out? What's got you and your team excited for 2026?
Yeah, so for 2026, especially along the eastern portion of the ward by the Chicago Avenue, we have a big investment that's coming along Chicago Avenue around public safety, where we've had a couple of instances where pedestrians have been hit, and so the Department of Transportation is going to implement some strategies there to make it a lot easier for pedestrians to cross back and forth. We also have a big development that's coming on the corner of California and Grand Avenue. It's going to be potentially a 100-unit building as well. There'll be some affordable units as well there. And then we have some businesses that are coming into the work. Chicago Avenue, when you take a look at it, especially from a restaurant perspective and the arts, there's a lot of activity going on there. And we're fortunate to have a very low vacancy rate with storefronts. But we have some vacancies, right? Because consumers consume goods differently. It's not like with Amazon and just e-commerce. It's a different world right now. So we're having to adapt to that as well. But I've been, when developers have come in or owners of properties have come in and say, hey, I have a storefront, it's not working, I'd like to figure out a live work as zoning change. We've worked with them as well. As long as we can keep a balance, because I don't want to change all the storefronts to residents, but we want to have a balance there. And we have also the Ukrainian village community. There's a state designation that's there, so we're working with the Ukrainian community to figure out how to get some resources there, similar to how you have Chinatown with the characteristics of their community, or in Humboldt Park, you have the flags there. We want to do the same thing with the Ukrainian community. That community's had some challenges over the last 4 years. And so now there's a program in place where there's a designated area. So we're working with the Ukrainian community to figure out how to have like a unique identity for that area, so that way it's a destination place as well. So we're working on that. Then out here along Grand Avenue as well, we're working with a community development corporation where we've identified some of the assets along Grand Avenue, and then figuring out if we're going to put a SSA, a special service area, in place in order to spur some development in the area. Taking a look at all the inventory of property that's available that's being underutilized, figuring out a way to upzone some of these properties to allow the owner of the property to take advantage and potentially either sell their property and do something bigger, or allow them, if they wanted to do something bigger. So we're taking a look at that. Again, we want to create some economic development. We need to find as many dollars as we can. So that's what we're trying to do right now.
That's all good stuff. All right, and then lastly, outlook on Chicago. I know, like, born and raised here. Like, what is the outlook the next 3 years, 5 years? Are you bullish on the city?
Oh,
and
man.
what needs to happen?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised here. I mean, I'm a product of the Chicago Housing Authority. I grew up on Diversity and Damon until we were 8 years old. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. He passed away when I was 8, and loved the city. And so when I served in the Marine Corps, when I served after 4 years, I came back to this city. Even though I had an opportunity to work in Arizona, I wanted to come back here. Came back here, went to school here, and raising my boys here. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm super bullish on Chicago. And when the DNC that took place last year in 2024 rather, not last year, in 2024, the DNC really put the city on a national spotlight, international spotlight. And I had a lot of colleagues from different cities. I sit on a couple of national boards, and they were here, and they were just marveling at how beautiful the city looked. And if you remember, it was August, about like 75 degrees, and I told them, I said, it's always like this in August. Don't worry about it. And it was just like a perfect week. And so I'm bullish. I'm bullish because if you take a look at all the assets the city has, 2 airports, like the busiest airport in the country now. We have 6 of the 7 Class 1 railroads that come through the city of Chicago. So everything comes through Chicago as it relates to freight. You take a look at all the technology, specifically quantum, where the QMP campus, they had an opportunity to go anywhere in the world. They decided to come here. Take a look at nuclear, the fact that we produce the most nuclear in the country. When you take a look at data centers, when you take a look at just the amount of young graduates from all the Big Tens that want to come to an affordable city, like we're positioned perfectly for that. And so within the next 3 years, what we want to do is be able to continue to have, put policies that attract investors. We want to figure out a way to deal with our tax system so we can get those investments. We want to make sure that we're continuing to double down on public safety. What we've heard is one of the big issues. We want to make sure that our education system is good. When corporations are recruiting people to cities, we want to make sure that the family feels comfortable sending their children to our education system. And so those are the things that I'm just like, I'm bullish on the city. When you take a look at all the assets we have and we compare it to the coast cities and the southern cities, like we're in a perfect place. I forgot to mention our fresh water, right? When you take a look at fresh, like this is a great city, and I'm fortunate to be a city council member on the city council, helping drive the agenda for the city, and listening to people, listening to businesses, listening to investors. I want to make sure that I'm hearing back, getting that feedback, so that we can put forward policies that help the investments.
All right, awesome stuff. On that, you ready to wrap?
Yep. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
we got a quick wrap-up questions here. Rapid fire.
You got it.
All right.
All right. What's your competitive advantage as an alderman? What do you do that others wish they could?
Oh, man. Well, we did play, this is a little longer answer. We did play a CPD game, city council members versus CPD softball, and I did pretty well. And matter of fact, a lot of my colleagues were like, "Gil, you still got it." So, I'm very competitive in sports.
All right. So competition probably runs through the business side
Yes.
of your CEO-ness.
All right, it's very good. All right, you have a lot of investors in the ward. You said you've owned a few properties yourself. What is the one piece of advice you would tell someone who's looking to buy their first property?
Well, you have to be able to dedicate a lot of time. Because if you think owning a property is 9 to 5, it's not. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. The reason why I got out of selling real estate, I had a 4-unit in Logan Square, and the utility bills were really high because I had old infrastructure that I couldn't afford to update. So I was able to break even, which was great for me because I was not really trying to make money on a monthly basis. I was looking more gaining on the equity. It was a Sunday, 8 o'clock at night, getting ready to watch The Sopranos. I was a big Soprano fan.
Every Sunday.
Was it at 10, 9?
8.
It was at 8?
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you, it was 11 o'clock on the West Coast because I had missed the 8 o'clock because I had
Yep, you
That
got
was
it.
the one. HBO
HBO West.
so I had a resident. I had a resident who had whose young son was cutting all his friend's hair in the bathroom, and all the hair was going down the down the drain. And I remember putting a drain stop there, and I remember seeing it full of hair. And I said, "Why didn't you clean that?" And like, well, it was full. I said, "I know, but you got to clean the hair and then put it back, and it catches it." And then I was like, I missed the Soprano episode. Had to pay the plumber
on a Sunday trip.
on a Sunday at 8 o'clock at night. So that was double time. And I said, you know what, this is not for me. But if you're into it, if you have patience and you're looking at the long-term gain, then real estate's a great opportunity for you. But you definitely got to understand that it's not a 9 to 5, and that you're always on call because you got to make sure that you're taking care of your investment.
What I heard Alderman say was hire a property manager right here. So.
Yeah, well,
GC Realty.
when you have 4 units, I wish my portfolio was big enough at that time to do that.
We would have cut you a deal.
Not to divert too much too. I just had this conversation with my daughter who did not realize that like you couldn't always just stream things. Like, you had to wait a whole week for this promise to come out. If you missed the time, you missed it.
Yeah.
Like could not wrap her head around it.
Yeah.
And this guide came once a week and told you what time things are on.
Yeah.
Like, that was the other thing too. All right, what do you do for fun?
So I like to play golf. I picked it up at a later age. I worked in state government for almost a decade. I played baseball, so I had I could hit the ball. I just didn't know where it
We
was
know
going.
you throw. We've established that.
So understanding that the baseball swing and the golf swing, there's some similarities, but there's also some differences. So when I played golf after baseball, I could hit the ball. I just didn't know where it was going. So I figured, I better get some lessons. I kept getting invited to golf outings, and I didn't want to be that guy that they say, "Who's the fourth?" "Oh, it's Gil." Oh. So I said, what? I better get some. I better invest in myself. So I took some lessons, and then I'm 55 right now, so I figured I can't play basketball anymore.
I thought that was your score for a second. I was like, what?
No. Well, on the front 9, yes.
Yeah.
So I said, I can't play basketball anymore. I can't play baseball anymore. So I figured I'd still competitive. So I play golf for fun. So that's a great time. Plus I hang with my boys. I try to get my 2 sons that are 22 and 18 into it, and they just never liked it. But I bet you, I've told them both. I said, believe me,
around. Yeah.
when you get 25 or 30, you're going to want to get away from home. This is a perfect opportunity for you to do that.
Yeah. All right. So what is a good either book, podcast, or self-development activity that you would recommend to our listeners?
So I've read like 48 Laws of Power, more of a political book, and so I've read that book multiple times and often look at it. Machiavelli as well. Again, more from the political standpoint. My degree is in political science, so I'm kind of a political junkie.
Other than yourself, name a valuable resource to other Chicago real estate investors.
I think, organizations like NOBA, Chicago Realtors Association, those are organizations, all the chambers of commerce, and specifically your local ones. The local ones are the ones that have their ear to the ground and kind of find out what properties are available and what types of investments are going, the trends and stuff like that.
All right. Alderman Villegas, thank you so much. You brought
you.
a ton of value to our listeners. How can they learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Oh, correct. Thank you. Yeah, so I would, follow me on social media. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My staff has not gotten me to get on TikTok. I just don't.
You sound
do it.
disappointed.
I know. I just don't do that. I just don't do that. But I'm on those, and then 36ward.org is our website. 36ward.com. Either one, and just give us a follow. And again, I'm the most active city council member as it relates to legislation. If you have ideas on how cities should work or things that cities should be doing, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and try to figure out if we can incorporate that into the way we do business.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. We end with the Chicago. You're not off the hook yet. We had a Chicago fact.
Okay.
We have someone that we're playing for.
All right, we're playing for John Mulcher. And John, if one of us gets this question right, you get a $50 gift card brought to you by today's sponsor, Eric Workman, Ronovo Financial. So you and me are on the same team here. So
Gotcha.
We got to get John a $50 gift card.
All right. So you're going to get multiple choice on this. 4 options. You're going to have 2 choices. So we're looking 50-50 here. So we're at the Brickyard. Me and Mark got to talk about all our fun time. We were at Sport Mart and Toys R Us. But the question is, you'll get your options. What year did the Brickyard open to the public? Your options are 1948, 1962, 1977, or 1986. When did the Brickyard open to the public? 1948, 62, 77, 86.
Well, it's not 86. I would say, what was it, 77 or?
77.
I would say 77 or 62.
Yeah, I'm going to say 77.
I'll say it's 62.
You got it. 77.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That was live too, guys. They're nicely done. I was worried you weren't going to get it. Some constituent was going to get mad. And
Well, here's the great part. When we were driving in, I asked Lance, I said, what do you think was here before the mall? He's like, I don't know. I'm like,
Well, there used to be a ski.
yeah.
They used to have- they had a-
Yeah,
they had-
the
they had
ramp there.
a ski ramp, and then they made an indoor mall,
Yep.
and then that got torn down, and then I think that indoor mall got torn down in 2000.
03,
Yeah.
02.
Yeah.
I was like in high school. Yeah.
So my family history, my great
Boring.
grandfather.
This is going to be long.
I know, no, I'll be quick. My great grandfather moved here in the 1960s to open up and be the pastor of the church right across the street over here, right in Narragansett. So Albanian Orthodox Church, and that's my tie to
Wow,
this area. So
that's
it's pretty
cool.
cool. So, all right, John, we got you a $50 gift card brought to you by today's sponsor, Renova Financial. Alderman, thank you for
you.
having us
I
out here.
appreciate
We
it.
appreciate this. Tom, thank you. Listeners, we will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks all.